Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of Comedy Guy. And in the studio here, I have video games journalist Sten Kohlmann. How you doing, Sten? Thanks for coming in.
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, I mean, you are kind of one of the new voices of gaming in the Estonian media. Maybe I'm making it sound more grand than it actually is. But I think it's a good thing. So you, and I guess I first knew you from your work with Level 1, and we've done Comedy Estonia's done a bunch of work with Level 1 and the Mängudeöö events and other things that Carl does. And now, you, I mean, for quite a while now, you've been writing for this small indie publication, Õhtuleht. They're an up-and-comers in the industry, but, you know. So you're doing that. So you're a journalist in the media, Level 1 and also Õhtuleht. But what else do you do? What's in your career?
That's pretty much it currently, I think. I've done several things in the past, but I find it easier if I just narrow it down to those two and call it a day.
Okay.
Like all the rest, it's just random stuff.
Sure, that makes sense. Eventually you've got to focus on one thing or another that you do, and that's it. And I think it's a good thing to do. I don't know if you would use the same term, but I would say you're one of the first voices of games in the Estonian media at a mainstream level. One of the first, let's say. Obviously, you know, we're not going to go
definitely
first,
not the first.
No, not the first. Yeah. No. But one of the first sort of bringing it to the mainstream. I mean, you're writing for a mainstream publication, you know, doing that, which is cool. What have been like the... Because I knew you before you wrote for Õhtuleht, and you know you guys were doing Level 1, and you were trying to show that this is a thing, that we can write proper articles, and there's a scene, and there's followers, and sort of showing people in Estonia this is a thing. What were some of the challenges in sort of convincing the regular media that, hey, this is a thing that actual people are interested in, you guys should also take notice?
That's a good question. I don't actually know how to answer that because a few days ago, maybe yesterday, like the day before we record this, one of the Delfi reporters wrote an article and he went ham on esports, telling like, we eradicated smoking. Let's do it with esports, and esports suck. And normal girls and boys play real sports and stuff like that. And that brought back the issue that actually Estonia, we like to tout ourselves as, hey, we're this digital country and e-Eesti and e-riik this and e-riik that, but actually we're really conservative about several issues.
What was that particular journalist? Were they a little bit older, conservative?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about, well, obviously
okay,
conservative.
Not conservative,
but,
yeah, sure.
But definitely older, yeah.
Huh. That's I mean, it does sound just like an old person shouting at the wind, like an old person yelling at clouds and get off my grass and all
pretty
of
much.
this. Okay. Huh. Okay. So such attitudes still exist in the Estonian media. We're still not 100% all the way. Look, there's probably people who think stand-up comedy is dog shit and some terrible scourge upon the people, and we should be listening to some good theatre instead with some fine Estonian actors. That would be a much better way to do it. So, okay, there's always someone to... How did it... I mean, I guess your publication, Õhtuleht, has been a little bit more... I mean, little bit by little bit. You sort of do a piece and you can do a bit more, and most of your work is on Level 1, but... Now, are you seeing that Õhtuleht is interested in more like detailed articles? Like at first, okay, you know, here's what esports are, maybe people want to know, but sort of it's becoming more nuanced and you can explain to the people a little bit more some of the more details about esports as your journalism progresses.
There have been times I have written long detailed articles to the paper, not like web page only, but they have been published in the paper, and I'm talking about esports and how and why people pay money for free games and stuff like that, and that's been interesting. Usually I don't have really much time for that actually, and I would like to have more time to concentrate on the gaming part because I see it as an important part of the media.
What is what else are you spending your time on? You mean other topics that you're supposed to write about, or
No, it's well, you introduced me as a journalist, but actually in Õhtuleht I'm a multimedia editor.
Okay,
it's a fancy title, which means I can do pretty much everything. I've done live streams and reporting and stuff like that. I usually record podcasts, so podcasting is it's a lifestyle now.
yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it has transcended the boundaries. So I'm pretty much concentrating on podcasts and doing the esport.õhtuleht.ee stuff on the side, so to say. It's not to say that I don't concentrate and I don't put effort into the articles I write there, but it's just that I would like to do more.
Okay, that makes sense. That okay, we're not just the journalistic thing that Õhtuleht and other big agencies are trying to be these multimedia things these days. They jumped on the podcast bandwagons as well. They were putting video down their stream, so of course you would be doing many things, which is also very cool to get that platform, to get that Õhtuleht platform to put your stuff out there.
I think I'm in a good position in Õhtuleht because our editor-in-chief is pretty liberal with games. He plays a lot of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, pretty much lives inside of the game.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there's support from there coming.
That's nice. Okay, that you're not just considered some stupid kids off to the side doing some... But I would also hope that any media agency has to recognize this because... Goddamn, most media agencies are fucked anyway these days for money, ad revenue, declining share, clickbait articles, the things that are affecting all forms of the media. So you want to hope they're genuinely trying such new things like that.
The article I mentioned earlier, the esports is bad one, it's kind of surprising because Delphi is actually organizing events in esports. Yeah. Or at least supported them and broadcasted them on their page. So yeah, it's like give or take. Why do you do this? Yeah. And then allow random dude just saying, yeah, that actually sucks.
But was it because maybe a fair and balanced, to use the term, media agency can put out both sides of something. Was this person, again, we're not trying to shit on them personally, but was it more of an opinion piece from a random outsider, or was it from a journalist?
No, it was a journalist. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely opinion piece. Yeah, but
still journalist.
Yeah, it was published on Delphi's sports page, especially in esports category. So, so that was especially weird.
Okay, that's a little bit of a weird crossover. That's your category for that. Like maybe we want a different opinion. All right, fair enough. Yeah. Some old guy.
You like esports, you want to read about the esports, you go to Delphi and see one dude going, yeah, fuck you.
I mean, maybe in the finance section we have someone going, fuck all the bankers. Fuck that. Fuck someone in the sports section. All those footballers are stupid. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's a sign that, when you're encountering this resistance, let's call it, that can also be a good sign that people actually see what's happening. People see that there's a change. Like, if he didn't think that, like, there's got to be some level that this person realizes, this is a threat. I don't know, somehow they've worked out this is a threat to me. Things are happening. I don't understand this. I'm a journalist who gets paid to write articles, and now it's multimedia editing and all this shit I don't get. Attack, attack, attack.
There was this Saturday Night Live sketch about sports journalists doing esports and being out of his element and going like, what am I doing here? This is scary.
So let's get into esports, and then esports in Estonia particularly, because like all good things, we're obviously a bit behind. Not that we're bad, that's just the way it goes. But like with the stand-up comedy, when we're trying to work out what's the next thing, when we have unanswered questions about where we go next with our careers, with how are we approaching, I don't know, online shit, how are we approaching podcasts, how are we approaching all these new things like donations and tickets and all this shit. The one thing that we have is to look internationally. and go, what are our stand-up heroes doing in LA and America? And that gives us a real good idea about what we should be doing here. So again, not to say like Estonia's behind, it's like, it's kind of cool. We can take the best of the world and bring it back. So, okay, esports, I guess maybe if people will give them a quick overview, what do you think is an esport?
People playing video games competitively.
Okay.
That's the gist of it. That's pretty much covers it. When it comes to esports in Estonia, I think the biggest problem is that we're too comfortable.
Oh, how so?
We like to stick to traditions, and we don't really like to expand our horizon and try new things. And we'll go with, hey, CSGO is popular outside. Like, let's try that.
Okay.
And let's stick with that, and let's never try anything else.
So, okay. So you think there is a bit of an esports scene in Estonia? There are people playing. And
no, there's definitely esports scene, and there's definitely several games that are being played professionally even. But it's just that the rest of the scene, or rather outside of the scene, people outside are going at, yeah, CSGO, that's a thing. And what are the rest of the things? Oh no, let's not talk about that.
Okay, that's interesting. So you guys have got a thing that you do, and it's esports, and it's great. And inside of the scene, then maybe things are pretty progressive. Players are catching on to new games when they come along and picking them up and looking forward. But from the outside, people just go like, CSGO, that's all it is.
It's pretty much, it's whenever somebody is trying to sell you, I don't know, a new league. It's always CSGO. It's always talk about, hey, like esports is getting pretty big out there, and there's a lot of money circling inside it. It's actually a real business, you know. Are you interested? And I'm going, it has been for a while now.
I've been telling you this for 10 years, Dick.
There are several other games you could try, you know.
Okay. Yeah. That bit I can get. Okay, so that's an interesting... Okay, so you're saying that the esports scene in Estonia may be mature enough at a certain level that now the business people are sniffing and going, oh, I've heard there's money in these games things. We get this with stand-up as well, that they see us everywhere and then they think there's money involved. And so everybody wanted to get a little bit involved in it. And then all of a sudden, this guy's got a venue, or this guy's trying to do something, or someone else is trying to bring an international comedian to Estonia. And I'm like, y'all don't understand there's no money in this. Like, you've just jumped on board thinking that... And it was great for me because I let him go, because you'll soon work out there's no money. And you've got to be doing this for the love. Have you seen that like people going, I've got a deal for you? And you're like, fuck, I do this every day. Really? You've got a deal for me? What you're talking about, I worked out 5 years ago. Are you seeing that level of like entrepreneurial influence coming in?
Yeah, kind of. The thing I talked about, businessmen coming and saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hey, it's getting pretty big. That was from a personal experience.
Yeah, I bet. It sounds exactly like something we would receive at Comedy Estonia. We've received... I was saying to before with the lockdown situation, probably no less than 5 or 6 offers of us, do you want to be part of our streaming platform? We're like, hey, do you want to be part of ours? Because we've already got our own stream platform, but we can sell tickets. Yeah, we sell tickets and files as well. So what exactly service are you offering? And I guess I try to think about maybe we're a bit ahead of the curve. Maybe we're more advanced, and maybe there are other bands who need that help or something. Like, is that like Comedy Estonia has been all right because we kind of got together as a group, but is that sort of like it with gamers, that some might get together in a group and help each other, but often it's single players out there and trying to help themselves, and they're trying to play and grow their careers, and that's tricky for them to do?
I think it's an Estonian thing. You don't want to actually communicate with others. You want to do your own thing, and when you see others creating events and doing like bigger shows and stuff like that, you're going, I could do that. And if I do it by myself, I don't have to share with anybody. So we actually have been like been in this position for years with Mängudeöö and Level 1, where we have this platform, we have the experience, but we see all the time like several other people doing the exact same thing, but just not as good.
Yeah.
Like no offense,
absolutely.
but it's you go with, yeah, that's a cool idea you have. Too bad it's like has existed for years now.
Absolutely. And I've been super interested to follow the career, let's say, of Level 1 and Mängudeöö particularly, because so Mängudeöö was a video games event, and it was different. Like it was sort of it was held in a cinema, or was many times, so a whole bunch of screens, and you could walk around and watch the main game on one screen, watch some FIFA in another room, watch some Mortal Kombat, and then sideshows and cosplay, and it was like a whole thing going on. And I think two things that's different to when people are having a oversized LAN party, which I think is an easier thing to set up than Mängudeöö. I think that people didn't appreciate how hard the organization of Mängudeöö really was. And that's even after it was in a cinema that already, well, okay, maybe Apollo. Look, I'm not a super fan of Apollo, but, like, let's assume that already having screens and projectors makes it easier, and seats. Not even having to do projectors, seats, and screens. It was already a massive undertaking. And I guess you found that people go like, oh, this is easy. I'll do this. Fucking make some money. They must be making money.
Yeah, there have been several events taking place in cinemas that are not ours.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, coming back to Mängudeöö, we've had esports games there, and mainly we had CS:GO, and that's the other side of the hey, CS:GO is big and there's nothing else. We have to choose CS:GO because it's the most popular, it's the most easier to sell to sponsors. You go with hey, we have Overwatch here. People go, yeah, but it's not CS:GO though. So that's another issue. That's the other side of the coin there.
Okay, sure. That you've got the mainstream thing, I guess. Then there's a longer term thing there that it's like, okay, we get it. They want to play the CS:GO, but then I've got to work out ways to roll in those other games and try to make them a bigger thing. Try to prove the people wrong, that people do want to see Overwatch, or they do want to see some other game.
It's definitely hard. I mean, CS:GO is easy. It's easy to understand. It's rather easy to set up. You don't have to deal with publishers that much. I don't know if anybody in Estonia has contacted Valve and saying hey, we want to do CS:GO here.
Yeah, okay.
But with Overwatch and with Fortnite we contacted Blizzard and contacted Epic Games, and we had to jump through hoops in some cases to reach the level they were comfortable with, and that was also annoying. It's a whole another thing. In the end of the day, you go, let's just do CS:GO. It's easy.
So the difference would be, CS:GO, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. It is a pretty old game. It's a first-person shooter, I guess. Yeah, first-person shooter, and somewhat old. It's been around for a while. So it does in some ways deserve its status because it was, a bit of an OG title. But the sort of, you can get the software, you can install it. You don't need central servers from the publisher, often in other country. You can install your own CS:GO server, have your own CS:GO games totally on a local network. Is that right? And you don't need to engage with Valve or some other company in America?
Usually the tournaments took place in a platform called Faceit, I think.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's a dedicated platform for CS:GO. So that's rather easy if you know the people. But yeah, it's definitely harder to do the other games.
Okay, because you can't just set up your own server for Fortnite. You need to contact Epic Games and have them set it up, or why is that?
I don't remember, but it was definitely a hassle.
Right. Okay, so that's an extra thing. And then at Mängudeöö, you've got to have internet. You've got to have that strong internet, a good connection, the screens, the lights, the technicals, and just the amount of tech that goes in. Not even without projectors and big screens already up is a massive undertaking, which I think is a tough thing. My outside perception was one of the toughest things for you guys to do, that it was this massive, massive thing. And that to grow, that could only happen limited number of times because it was this huge thing to do. And to really affect a change and to grow more of the culture, I think you also need lots of smaller events on things, more regular, maybe one game, small things, one room to keep them rolling, and then the big kind of thing. And I'm just comparing it to stand-up comedy where, well, for stand-up comedy, okay, we can get on a box, a coffee table in a room and yell at people, and it's a thing. But even a small event needs so many computers. Even a small event needs screens. Even a small event is not a small event in video games. Did you guys come up with some tactics or techniques to pare it back and make it simpler? Or how did you deal with this, holy shit, this is a huge technical problem?
Just do it and forget about it afterwards.
Okay. I have seen...
Pretend it didn't exist.
I've seen the mental state of Andri at certain moments, and I'm not sure, he may be forgetting it now, but then retelling it to counselors several years in the future as he's having PTSD flashbacks.
Yeah, it's definitely hard for him as the head organizer, but even the smaller cogs in the machine are pretty much just, I don't know, exhausted at the end of the night. Everybody's walking around like a zombie. But the next day you think that was a fun event.
Okay, that's cool. All right.
Yeah.
And you do have a great team spirit. You have a fantastic team, which is the way you've been able to do these, that the volunteers are also fantastic and people are really enthusiastic for this.
That's definitely a plus.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it otherwise.
I personally love Mängudeöö because for us, Carl, my colleague Carl, he is he got into casting and got into being a stream announcer, which I think he's really improved at and done really well at. And he could sort of host the cast, but then also host the room. And we saw Carl do some it would be midnight, 1 a.m. and the internet goes out or some technical problem, and we've got to delay the final by 30 minutes. And I've seen Carl do some amazing things to a huge cinema full of people, entertain those people for 20, 30 minutes at a time. There's that, and for me as well, and then we had the guys playing FIFA. Maybe it would be Roger and Sander drinking beers playing FIFA, and I
remembered the critique after the first time they did it. That was pretty funny. It's just everyone going yeah, those guys could shut up for a second. I would like to play the game.
And we're like, yeah, that's what we do. And there was even, so those guys, and for me, and that was an interesting one that, how to say, it was an interesting thing about dealing with sponsors and how you deal with sponsors, how we deal with sponsors. And I don't think no one was bad or wrong in any of this. I think it all worked out. But we were like, those guys are going to come along and commentate FIFA. People mostly like that. And then rightfully you have a sponsor for that room. I think it might have been Sprite at that time, but again, we're not going back on any sponsors. Everyone was legit here. And then, the sponsor had a deal, had been promised, which was the commentators and the staff would be wearing the sponsors' shirts. And the thing was like, well, can the comedians wear the shirts? And the comedians were like, we're not wearing the Sprite shirt. And it was a moment where, you know, you guys had an obligation to the sponsor, which we absolutely understand. And then I had an obligation to my guys, and they were like, we ain't wearing no fucking shirts. And we sort of just had to work it out. And a deal had to be struck again and say to the sponsor, look, we've got a couple of the best comedians in Estonia sitting here. If you don't mind they don't wear the shirt, they'll entertain people all night. And, you know, there was a back and forth, and then it worked out in the end.
I remember this is probably one of the funniest things that has happened at Mängudeöö. Where like everybody remembers fondly how one of the commentators went like, "Oh yeah, Sprite, Sprite, Sprite."
Yeah, sometimes we're very allergic to sponsors, but then other times we don't mind, and it's just if we feel comfortable with it. I think it was when because Roger's dad works for Euronics, and so when we discovered Euronics was sponsoring the room or something, then all of a sudden the t-shirts are on and they're waving the fucking flags and they're like buy Euronics.
Yeah. Hi dad.
Yeah, hi dad. But you know, Sprite, no, fuck no. You know, like, but anyway, also
oh, yeah. No, definitely fun times are fun times.
They're great events. And yeah, for me, those guys could do it. And my job was just sort of walking around. I could do kind of make an announcement, talk to people, have fun, and I'm like, great, I get paid to drink beer and walk around and talk to people. Not even paid, like, you know, I'm happy to be here and drink beer and talk to people and have fun at a video games event. So
yeah,
but I get it that it's so much. Do you have any thoughts about doing another one?
We had we were planning to do one in the spring, but you know,
oh yeah,
things happened.
Okay, but that's nice to know that they're still there. Yeah. So I mean, are there versions of Mängudeöö that you think could be done like smaller and more often, or you think it's got to be the main event to sort of pull it all together?
I don't, especially with Mängudeöö, I think the problem is that we like to do things big.
Cool.
We like to do things like we value quality.
Yeah.
And doing it smaller, it wouldn't feel right. But then again, if we would do it more often, people would feel burnt out, not just like the visitors, but us as well. That's one of the reasons why, I don't know, why the last event was smaller scale. It was to pay respects for our roots, you know, because Mängudeöö started at Sõprus and, you know, currently ended, so to say, in Sõprus. But yeah, it definitely was some feeling burnt out.
That could happen. And I think it's also a different style of thing. Like if you got Apollo and you got a number of screens, there is the walking around thing, there is some different, but if you've got a smaller thing at Sõprus and we're all focused on one room, I think it can create a different atmosphere. They're just different sorts of events, I think. You know, you can really get that focus on that main game.
Yeah, it's more laid back when it was in Sõprus.
Yeah, that's cool. We've done a lot of stand-up comedy in Sõprus as well, and it's got that certain atmosphere. And I think you obviously had to limit the number of tickets as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure,
place. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. But it's a tough thing to do that multi-room thing because unless you do it in a cinema, I mean, that's it. And then you are at the whim of the cinemas, and they have their own way of thinking and their own way of doing business and their own financial goals for things which may not match your financial goals. So, or if you don't do it in a cinema, then what are you going to do? Put up screens? It's a tough one. It's a tough to know where to put that event.
There have been other ideas, but you know, it's just that ideas.
Yeah, I think that what counts in the game is consistency, and that can you do it over a number of years. And that's what I think Level 1 has done very well. That, yeah, there's always these people, now I'm running this event at the other place, and there's some other thing when they all get this idea that all of a sudden these video games are going to be the big one. It's like, okay, you can do 1, you can do 2. Can you do 5? Can you do this over 5 years? That's, I guess, when I'm more impressed with a group.
I think what differentiates us from other type of events is I'm not trying to shit on anyone. It's just that they're great events, but they don't have that atmosphere we did, and it's fun, and I don't know, it's relaxed, and it's not I don't know, corporate is the one, you know.
That makes sense.
There wasn't some suit coming down and telling, "Hey, you should do an event."
Yeah, and that I think comes from the great volunteers that you have. Is one way. They're just genuine enthusiasm for it. But also a lot of the other events, not all of them, but some of them, because an event can then be more, let's say, LAN focused. You're more like a LAN party, which is maybe there are computers set up, maybe you have to bring your own, and there's more people playing and participating rather than being this festival, this show, which is what Mängudeöö is. I think there's a lot of, you can play games here and there, but no one's really bringing their computer to play their own game in a way.
There's always been some computers up there for casual gaming, and we have like noticed that every time there's at least some people that just log into their own Steam account and play CS:GO there or something like that.
So everybody wants to play CS:GO.
Yeah, I think it just comes back around to the problem that we don't play other games.
Yeah. Huh. So it's, okay, it's not just necessarily a media or a public perception. It's the gamers are a little bit stuck in their ideas as well.
A little bit, yeah. Definitely the younger generation they don't really care about the content that Level 1 puts out because it's not CSGO related or stuff like that. It's not Fortnite all the time, and it's not... I know some specific thing catered to them. It's trying to focus on everybody at the same time, and they're like, not interested.
Okay, if it's not my thing. That is the tough thing. Okay, not everyone's going to be interested in every article and every topic that comes out.
I think that's the problem with the general media as well, is that they're trying to get the clicks from everybody, and that's why... portrayal of esports is so one-sided. It's always that, hey, this one Estonia dude is participating in an event that's and the winner gets like $500,000, and that's like every headline, because otherwise nobody that does not follow esports wouldn't click on it.
And that is that underlying problem with the media, with the old media, which I don't know if we want to put Õhtuleht in that, but the regular media, that they're chasing clicks, headlines that where, on one hand, as much as I've talked to different journalists, yes, there is still some level of integrity going on internally if you speak to individual journalists and individual editors, but then the next moment is, you better be getting clicks. Why aren't you getting clicks? Why, you did some great article, but it's not getting clicks. It's not being pushed forward. And I just think it's a fundamental problem with the media these days. And that's why we need Level 1. That's why we need these independent organizations.
I think it's like, with Level 1 it's easy because we don't care about money, because we don't earn anything. We're poor. But I can understand general media. Like if a sports journalist is put into position that, hey, you need to write about how Robin Kool won a tournament, and you're going like, I don't even know what CS:GO is, but I guess I'll try. It's my job. And that's how these headlines are getting made. But yeah, it's definitely. How to say, we had a discussion, I think it was last year in Puhata ja Mängida podcast. We talked about how esports and video games are portrayed in media, and there was this idea that it's not possible to write about esports without like bringing out how it's bringing in money, and there's like lots of big prizes in the tournaments, and I think it's wrong. You can do that. It's just that it's harder to sustain your own platform that way. However, I feel like, me personally, I feel that we need to write it well, we need to write about esports like we should, like we're writing about currently regular sports, because it's I don't know, normalizing the esports in the eyes of older public, so to say, and if we as gamers who like I mean, video game journalists, if we don't write about video games with respect, then it's like it loses its purpose.
Sure. And that's where you need good editors who not only understand the content, but feel that they can get away with, like your own, as you said, your own editor's a really cool guy. He's really into it and he gets it. But as much as I've understood, it's the media. It's not just about whether you guys all get it. It's like whether the boss thinks that and the boss's boss and those levels up will also kind of let that journalistic influence happen. So is it, okay, I mean, comparing it back to regular sports, when we talk about international Premier League or whatever, that's clear, there's money, we get that, that's where it's there. But in Estonia, we would also write about the local national league and the FC Flora and the Kali and all the different, and they're not earning, you know, we know these guys, we know they're playing a sport, they're not earning much money, but they're being written about in this sort of way. And is that what you're trying to say? Like, yeah, these are just sports people in a local competition. Yeah. And they're also not earning much money, but they deserve coverage as well. That's the thing. That
I think the best example is that, let's say Kaia Kanepi is playing somewhere. You don't title the article that, hey, Estonian girl is playing in a tournament that has a prize of $750,000, because it's a normal thing. It's not something extraordinary. Like it's just a common thing that occurs in a world.
Okay, that's how it goes. She's a tennis player. It's for granted. You know that she's in the Wimbledon, that she's getting a decent prize. This isn't the news in there. The news is that most people. So the thing is, I guess most people don't seem to get or know that there's such prizes in esports yet. And they feel like they want to always be telling it. Like, hey, regular person, did you know you can win $500,000? Kaia Kanepi can earn $500,000. I don't know, for winning Wimbledon.
I have no idea.
I don't know what it takes. Whatever it is.
The regular prize is there.
But this guy can also play CSGO, apparently, and earn $500,000 as well. And that's the thing that people don't know yet. So, yeah, okay, do you need to lead with that money? Does that have to be the most interesting thing?
It can be there, but especially when you're like a starting platform. But if you've written, I don't know, like 40 articles about Robin Kool, and every time you're like pointing out how much money he could make, then it's like becoming suspicious.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And is it? I mean, how much money he could make? Yeah,
because he's not one.
He's not one. Yeah, sure. He's a sportsman. He's a sportsman trying to make his way up the league, trying the best that he can, and all that everyone can talk about is how much money. That must piss him off as well. Like he's just a guy. Who knows? You know, he's struggling. I'm trying to be a sportsman, trying to do my best, work out, whatever, like practice every day, and everyone thinks. Because all they read is these big numbers.
Yeah, I don't know what he thinks, but I know that Papi is like swore off Estonian media.
Who's Papi?
Clement Ivanov. He's the Dota player, the biggest esports dude in Estonia.
Okay, all right.
He's from Tartu. And like, yeah, he's been, I don't know, in Pealtnägija once. And I remember it being like really difficult for them to grab him there. Or get him there. And, you know, I guess that's because Estonian media usually portrays esports like money-making machine.
Yeah, right. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. We've encountered that maybe a little bit, with not too much with stand-up comedy, but a bit, that common thing that, not like people are reporting on our salaries, but that anytime you're in the media, people think, if you're in the media and you're always out there, and people just think you've got money. Like the assumption that if you're on TV, you must be rich.
Yeah.
Kind of that thing, and we're like, nah, I don't know if you know much about stand-up comedy, but nah. Did you see that ticket cost you €10? Okay, and the government takes 20% just straight up, like. But for someone like, sorry, pardon me, I'm not very educated. What was that guy's name in Tartu? What was his?
Clement Papi Ivanov.
Papi, okay, Papi. That okay, so he doesn't get portrayed well. So then eventually he goes, I ain't talking to you jerks because this is hard and you don't present me well. And because if his career is international, does that then mean, I mean, he doesn't need the Estonian media. Like, he obviously doesn't need them that bad.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. It's a two-sided plate. I would personally talk to my local media just because I don't know, patriotism, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it looks like I mean, not that it actually is so, but it looks like he doesn't give a shit about Estonia.
Oh,
just
okay.
a little bit,
Could be, yeah. And that's hard because, I mean, again, I didn't even know the guy's name 5 minutes ago, but is that because, is he just being an unpatriotic piece of shit? Or is he just this guy who's like, fuck, these guys jerk me around. I don't give a shit. I don't need this media. I have an international career. Maybe he thinks like not that much good can come from making a national profile for me. All they do is annoy me. All it does is make people focus on my money when, you know, he's probably struggling. I have no idea. Like, whatever.
I don't think he's struggling.
Not struggling. Yeah, okay. But, you know, all it does is make people focus on my money, which is even worse. If you do have money, fuck him. Maybe I don't need him. Maybe. Which you don't know because then he just wants, you know, is he just being a dick or is he just like an artist who's super frustrated?
Could be.
Could be.
Could be either way.
So who have we got? We've got Papi who's playing Dota. And then who else is the main, not main, but who are a few of the top names in esports in Estonia?
Robin Kohl, Rops, playing CSGO. Kevin Tarn also playing CSGO. There are others I don't know the names of off the top of my head, but there are several, or at least one prestigious Rainbow Six Siege player doing pretty good out there. And then there's like several people playing League and stuff like that.
Okay.
And even more like obscure games. Like, I don't even know the name of. Whatever the Overwatch clone is. Paladins, I think.
Oh, that's new, isn't it? Is Paladins new?
No, it's a couple of years old.
Oh, okay. All right.
Definitely.
Right. So those players who are getting some prominence and starting to really get somewhere with this, though, are their careers and their efforts mostly focused internationally or in like, okay, I mean, you can sit at your computer and play the online tournament.
Yeah.
But are they mostly participating and like, I don't know, for a better term, working in an international sense?
Yeah.
Right. Not, you know, local Estonian things, right?
No.
Okay. So is there, I mean, because that's what it changes, like, as it used to be with sports that I grew up in the local team and then maybe the state team and then eventually the national team. And then I might go off and play internationally, where straight out of the gate now esports players play internationally and may not necessarily have any connection to, you know, their work or their money or their income or their network. Their whole thing is like totally international and might have nothing based here, which is very different to a football player.
Yeah. You don't have to play locally, yeah, that's for sure. I think Robin Kohl started that way, like playing online games and taking part in tournaments. And I remember the issue being there that he was so good, the other people thought he was cheating.
Okay, yeah.
And then they, I don't know, I don't remember what company. Maybe it was Faceit, like who flew him in Germany, maybe, where he went and showed that no, I'm actually that good.
Huh. That's funny. Okay, and then that helps to, you know, propel him. So at that level, so let's say the level that those Estonians are at, like, because when I look at an esports player, I see someone like a sportsman or an artist who gets to a certain level and then you don't do it on your own. after a while, that any sportsman or any artist getting to a certain level has management, has representation. And that can be that can mean a whole bunch of different things. But that could just mean someone helping you out, answering your emails and helping you to do, or it could be like way up to like you're a part of a big team and all that, or it could just be I've got an agent, they're taking a cut, but they're doing me good deals and getting me sponsors. Like, so at the level any of the Estonians are at, as far as we know, they're pretty high up in the things, not the highest maybe, but fairly high there in the world. Do they have management at their level? Like, what does an esports player have around them at that level?
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm just gonna go right ahead and say that. But well, since Poppy and Rops especially, they're part of bigger teams, like even top tier teams in international scene, and definitely they have like management for the team, and I guess like they're managed. Individual players inside that, and trainers and whatever else they need.
I'm okay. That which does sound, I guess, to a lot of people who don't know esports, sounds like a football team.
Pretty much.
There's trainers and managers and management. All right, so that would be for someone who's playing a team-based game, which CS:GO is a team-based game. Dota is?
Dota is, yeah.
Dota is, yes, I know things. So, of course, that makes sense that they get together in a team and then they sign to a team and the team is looking after them. But if you were an international footballer and you sign to an international team, yes, there's team-level management and team training and all of that, but you would also still typically have a personal manager who makes your deals and maybe makes the deal with the team and then gets on board with that and then makes sure that the team is following up and living up to their responsibilities. Does that, as far as you know, again, is that level of management existing?
I'm not sure. I would presume so, but I think that it would concern only like the top players of every sport, so to say, like every area. But mostly, I haven't noticed that. At least it does not reach the gaming news.
Right, because that's what I'm interested in. Because again, even with you have an assumption that only the top players would have even something like that. Because the whole premise of Comedy Estonia has been that these guys are nobodies and they've still got a manager. And that management for us hasn't been something that you work up to a certain level and you achieve that. I have to be Koitoma or, whatever, and then someone's interested in me. It's been about... we're going to work with a whole bunch of comedians, help guide them as they help themselves up the ladder. We're going to take more interest in them, more personal guidance. So that relationship happens over a long time. And it's still a lot there. Not as much as it used to be, but like, I want to talk to Sandrigas. Okay, no, well, thank you. Thank you for your inquiry. We represent Sander. We'd be glad if you'd love to. We'll tell you the opportunity. We'll work with you. And they're like, no, I want to talk to him. And they're like, no, you don't get to talk to them directly. You talk to us, and we'll talk to him. What? And they don't understand that. Why? He's just a guy. I saw him on the YouTube. And no, but he's an artist that has a manager, and people aren't used to that concept of manager, and so you have a feeling that. Because I'm kind of, I guess I'm leading you here because my observation of esports has also been so many of these top level guys are managing themselves and don't have that support. And I'm like, really? You don't have someone who can just help you out?
No, I believe it's there, but it's on a team level.
Okay.
Because there's no I in team usually.
But then soccer players have it as well. Not I team, because the thing is the team can still fuck you. And I think there's loads, even what I've read, like loads of instances where, because esports maybe more than a football team, let's say, can go up and down. It's a new emerging market. So teams come, teams go somewhat, and they come and they go, or they get dropped. And without these long-standing precedents that maybe traditional sports have, it's like you're out and we don't care about you anymore. And we're going to break the contract and, well, okay, you're going to have to sue us we're going to break contract. If you don't, we're going to have to sue you. And oh, you don't want to sue us, then yeah. So yeah.
Why I think it's on a team-based level is that it's easier for footballers, so to say. It's easier to sell them individually. You know, you can always go to Ronaldo and hey, do a I don't know underpants commercial, but you don't go to Puppy and hey, now sell these condoms.
Yeah, okay.
Because general public doesn't know who Puppy is. There's like a specific ceiling there still.
Okay, so it's a factor that people don't know. Because even if, look, I don't know a lot of the Estonian footballers, but I imagine even some of the better names, even at a club level, might still be a face of something, you know, in Estonia.
Yeah,
maybe enough, would know that, right? Not like, okay, so am I understanding that then you think that most sponsorships and agreements are coming at a team level because the team has the bigger brand?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay.
Like there could be an instance where like Puppy is approached directly because he's a big name in his own world, but yeah, mostly I think I want to emphasize the part I think
that's fine.
that it's on team based level.
Sure, which does make sense to a certain level. That the teams until I'm trying to think. Could we draw a very long comparison here to the UFC? And that comparatively, the UFC, it's pretty well known that the UFC is a fucking money-making machine. And most of those fighters don't earn that much money at all because the brand, the tournament got so big that you don't want to fight in Dana White's UFC, then go fuck yourself.
Sure.
Could be.
That's definitely an option. I don't know why, but lately Facebook has been feeding me too many UFC videos.
Okay, do you follow the UFC?
Not particularly. Like sometimes when McGregor is doing something funny, I guess. But lately, yeah, I haven't even talked about UFC with anyone on Facebook. But still, they are there. So I don't know what's happened.
Maybe it's got your demographic pegged.
Sure.
Like I was trying.
You look like you enjoy violence.
Yeah. I had my Facebook suggested pictures the other day, and it was like all these blonde chicks. And my girlfriend's like, "Yo, why are these blonde chicks in your fucking feed, huh?" And I'm like, "No, it's in the suggested." And she's like, "Yeah, but suggested because you looked at other blonde chicks, and now it's suggesting more blonde chicks." And I'm like, "Well, maybe, but." You know, maybe I'm just a guy and it knows I'm a guy and I like video games and I like this. And then the algorithm says, dun, dun, blonde chicks. And I can't believe the algorithm is ratting me out here. Like I'm getting in trouble for the algorithm here.
You have to write an angry letter to Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, like, bro, I'm getting in trouble thanks to what you guys are doing. So where is the, if I wanted to come out and be an esports player and work the way up, where is the money? Not the mega bucks, but okay, how do I even begin to start to scratch out an income? You know, if I was a young artist, I might be doing some shows, little things here and there, trying to grow. Maybe, you know, how does a young player build themselves up and actually get the first few euros of income?
That's a good question. Me personally, I would start with the local scene because there do exist lands that offer cash prizes or I don't know, money prizes. But where is the money is the bigger question. I remember it was maybe last year when I read an article, lengthy article about esports being a bubble that could burst anytime soon because there's so much money in there, but nobody actually knows where it is, so to speak. Like everyone is saying that there is so much money and they're putting in that money, but nobody's getting that money back.
I mean, no one's getting it back. So what is that? The top players who win the prize money and then that's it, or
Pretty much, yeah. Like the salaries aren't that big and some stuff like that.
right. So is this the where the team thing comes in? Because does the team win, and then there's some contract that says it has to be distributed out to the players, or
Well, I would assume there's like it's a salary job because it's still a job. Like regular sports people get paid regularly.
okay, yeah, all right, okay. If I'm a footballer, I'm signed with the club. I get a salary, maybe a bonus if we win the league competition. Huh. But it's sort of like, is a football team going around the world playing these big prize money tournaments? I don't know, because football...
That's a hard comparison, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one because there is a lot of money in football as well through sponsors and all that. It's not necessarily like the team that wins gets instantly $1 million, but there's a lot of money coming in, sponsors, side deals that, okay. Huh. So even when you see that the team won, I don't know, big tournament with big prize money, okay, that's still got to support the team. That's still got to support all of the operations that go around the team, trainers, flights, accommodation, gear. And the team owner probably wants to make a profit in there as well. One imagines that they're trying to make some money. And the player becomes a salaried player that,
I don't know how big the salaries are, though.
Right, that's going to be the interesting thing. How big are those salaries? Because you're a salaried player, but they got to pay that salary whether you win or lose. Okay, there can be bonuses based off that. Because that's where I would have thought a personal manager would come into play that's negotiating these contracts that says, okay, cool, you want to give my boy, my girl, my boy, girl, whatever salary that it takes, fine. But when they win the big, when they're part of the six that win the competition, that's where the bonuses are going to come in. That's where that comes in. And that's what I'd be very interested to learn about how that level of negotiation is going on. Huh. What about are we seeing overall, it might be easy to say the overall world, women in esports. Is it coming along? Is it something that's happening?
I guess slowly. Like there have been news here and there about big tournaments where a girl has won, which sounds weird when I say it out loud.
Yeah, because it's a weird thing to have to deal with the genders like this.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, it's mostly male-dominated area still, I guess.
yeah.
I think there have been like tournaments that have like presented them as, hey, we accept only females, which also is weird.
It's a tough one to know how to deal with because, I mean, I'm not a fan of kind of segregation like that. It's probably not a good word to use there. But on the other hand, it's such a fucking toxic culture out there for women that I'm like, oh, maybe they do need a bit of help.
I know that as far as I have paid attention to is that Counter-Strike pretty much male-dominated, Dota pretty much male-dominated, but where there are female players is Overwatch League, for example.
Okay.
That's like, more diverse.
Sure. Yeah, okay. I think about it. I've seen a few more streamers playing Overwatch who are women. I've been thinking a bit recently about the way that female stand-up comedians get treated online, and they're always being asked to justify themselves, and men have these standards. They just make up standards that these women are supposed to live up to, and it's super easy for things to get out of hand, and negative comments and toxicity can so easily grow with a bunch of stupid boys in an echo chamber all yelling at each other. Do you think streamers, if you're trying to make say you're streaming, right? You're like, I really love CS. Let's say I really love CSGO and I'm playing CSGO pretty decently. I'm a streamer. I'm getting some views. Maybe I'm also the one that has a little bit of commentary, so I'm building an audience. Do you think they have a responsibility to not let their audience get too toxic? Like, what's the backside of the streamer community relationship? Because you have a whole bunch of boys all yelling at each other in the comments and it goes wild pretty quickly. And do you think streamers have some responsibility to, I don't know, police their audience or ensure that their audience doesn't go crazy? Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, the bigger the audience, the bigger your responsibility is, I think. I just got into an argument on Twitter like last week, I guess. There is this pretty known streamer called Dr. Disrespect.
Oh, yeah, I know.
His whole stick is that he's an asshole 24/7. And the last thing he got called out for is that he spreaded some message about coronavirus being fake and like 5G being the responsible for it. And then the argument arose that, yeah, but it's his character. He doesn't need to break the character, you know, because that's his whole thing. And I was like, no, actually, he actually has responsibility to tell his audience that, yeah, this, what I'm saying right now, that's bullshit. You know, you shouldn't believe what I say at moments like this. Like, he, I believe, has the responsibility to break character at that moment.
Yeah, and Dr. Disrespect has been in a whole number of controversies over the years, both from...
He's a fucking douchebag.
Right, his real life, and then, yeah. Huh, okay.
And not just his character, just he's a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, his real life as well. Yeah, incidences from his character, incidences from his real life that have kind of turned him that he's a bit of a douche. Yeah, all right. It feels like if you have that character, cool. I respect that. Right on. You've developed the thing. People like watching that performance and that thing.
I think it's okay to have a character. Like there's a reviewer on YouTube, Angry Video Game Nerd.
Sure.
Like, he's the classic, you know, at this point. But he breaks character. You know, he says like, "Hey, this is what I do for fun. It's not me. I actually like games. I don't destroy them."
Yeah.
But at the other side of is Dr. Disrespect and yeah, fuck you. 5G made Corona. Yep.
Yeah. Right. Some understanding that there are people out there who are taking you absolutely at your word.
And when you like with the Dr. Disrespect, when you're like called out, you're apologizing, so to say, telling, yeah, it's my brand. I apologize behalf of my brand. It's just Dr. Disrespect is that, and I went too far. Sorry. It's like being a character is not the excuse for being an asshole.
Sure. That makes sense. It's a pretty half-hearted apology. I mean, if he would do it already in that way, then he clearly hasn't got a perception that this is a problem or that people are taking him literally seriously, and they are literally, he's just saying things, but they are literally then going and taking action based off his
because there's
words.
like, it's guaranteed that he has a lot of younger audience that go, haha, that's funny. Also, I think like that as well.
Yeah. They really believe that. They really believe
because Dr. Disrespect said it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it doesn't hurt to break your character. Like we get it. It's a character. Like maybe an amplification of your douchebag personality, but we understand this is a character. It's okay. We're savvy enough. This is not the 1950s of television. We understand that you're doing a character. It's cool, bro. My favorite example of that is when, I forget whenever it was, however many years ago, when the wrestling, the WWE.
Dude, I love wrestling.
You love wrestling? Yeah. Oh, bro. And this great story that they weren't declaring themselves as a competition league. And I think it was in California that the Californian state was coming after them, or the feds, or the federales were going, this is a sports league. You are running a sports league. You have not been taxed under the rules of the sports league. We are now going to tax you under the rules of a sports league, and you basically owe us a fucking mint. Like, you basically owe us everything, because if you, for the whole time, had classed this as a sporting league, you would have been paying a higher tax. You would have been paying all this extra money. And they were like, because they hadn't broken the character then. They hadn't come and admitted that the wrestling was fake. And they were like, what are we going to do? They all seemed to truly worry that if they came out and admitted the wrestling was fake, that it's over, that the game's gone, no one's going to watch anymore. And then Vince McMahon just said, nah, fuck it. I'm gonna just say it. Anyways, we're not a sporting league. It's fake. All this is scripted. You can't tax us. And he avoided, and they thought that was going to be the end. And it turns out no one gave a shit.
Yeah, that's how sports entertainment was born.
Yeah, and it seems so absurd to us these days. Like, what? You thought that was going to be a factor? Now we're living in the post-fake news world, whatever shit, where no one believes anything anyway anymore. It just seems so crazy that was ever a consideration. Like, really? You ever thought that the people would give a shit that you said it was fake?
Yeah, I remember stories about heel characters not breaking character even when they were injured and had to be taken to hospital.
Fuck.
They were still acting like they were like this character.
Yeah, right. And they get so much respect because like the scripts are written, but the moves are not fake. That is not fake. The physical stresses that get put on a wrestler's body are intense.
I've heard stories, like so many stories, how they injured themselves during the fight and they still finish the fight. Like they're concussed as fuck and they've broken many bones in their bodies and they're going still like doing this super dangerous moves. And I'm thinking, why? Yeah. And everybody else going back afterwards, like, yeah, much respect to that guy, like doing whole show without three of his fucking bones.
And in the meantime, if you get one cut above your eye in the UFC, the doctors put you out, you're gone, done. Yeah.
I remember watching one wrestling match where a dude broke his finger. He called the referee saying, yeah, you should call off the match. And the other dude got so mad, he fucking kicked the dude with the broken finger. Dude was on the ground and the other guy went like, yeah, fuck. Dude got so mad.
Have you ever been to like a proper big event in America or something?
No,
WWE?
I would like to.
Fuck yeah.
Definitely. They do, like, they have done like some tours in Europe and they maybe even in Finland, which would be like, you know, doable.
Okay.
But I missed the chance.
And they've still been doing events, but to empty stadiums or something, haven't they, recently in the lockdown?
WrestleMania was like in their gym or something.
Okay.
That is totally empty stadium.
How did that affect? Did you watch? Did you see this?
I saw clips of it. I didn't really. I have it downloaded. I haven't watched it.
How do you think that affected? Like, what was the change?
I don't know. The hype is definitely not there. Audience plays a big part of it, especially like the first show after WrestleMania is always a fucking riot. Like there's people all over the world chanting and screaming and throwing beach balls around, and it's so fucking crazy. And this year it's just an empty arena. That's kind of sad.
It is. It feels weird, isn't it? Like the whole, and also Dana White wanted to do the whole UFC in some far off place and.
Yeah, on an island.
On an
a fucking deserted island.
Nobody around. It's like, you guys just want the money so bad, don't you? I mean, okay, you've sold out to ESPN and billions are coming in. You've promised them all of this and like...
Somebody compared Dana White's idea to Dead... what's the fucking fighting game series called? Dead or Alive?
Dead or Alive is one of them. Okay.
Yeah. Dead or Alive. They had this volleyball spin-off where scantily clad women played volleyball and wrestled each other with their butts. And they like compared that to Dana White's idea, like UFC volleyball.
with I think it's been very interesting with. I mean, we were talking earlier about streamers, and maybe the one if you like playing games, one way that you might do it is to start streaming, and then people watching and they're noticing you, maybe to get noticed. Okay, do all esports players have to start as streamers?
I don't think so. I don't know how it goes nowadays. I mean, like every little kid wants to be a streamer and win big at esports, but how to get noticed? No, that I do not know. You need to have like something. Like coming back to Dr. Disrespect, it definitely has something, you know.
True. Yeah. Okay. Because I mean, let's say you did have an ambition to be let's say you wanted to be an esports gamer, that you wanted that, and like how to get going, and maybe you are just generally really good. You've been practicing, and you're good. I mean, it's one thing to be good. It's like, yeah, then how to get that good noticed. I guess streaming is one way. I don't know. Maybe going into local tournaments and kicking everyone's butt in tournaments from here to Germany or something might help if you didn't want to take the streamers route or something like that.
I don't know. I think with esports players, you have to do the tournaments first.
Okay.
I think to get like your baseline of followers, and then build from there. If you like want to take streaming as another serious part of your step.
Oh, okay, sure. How do you get noticed? How do you even get off the ground beyond just being great? But then still, how would anyone notice you with this small Twitch feed? You know, with 5 people watching, then okay.
5 is pretty generous.
Yeah, right. How would we know that you're great? I mean, maybe bit by bit, but okay, you go into tournaments, you get somewhere in the tournament, a few more people notice and a few more people notice. Right, and so then you could build yourself up. Maybe there's a tournament, a little bit of extra money in the tournament. Maybe there's a sponsor. I mean, at that level, you're lucky if they just give you a bit of free kit or free gear or something like that. Because then there's the route of donations. And I've been watching a lot of Twitch recently, and it seems like you can either go one of two ways, or maybe there's a hybrid, but you can either just be playing and focused on the playing and all of that, and maybe then you've got your hey, donate to me, maybe there are some extra ideas, extra stuff there. Or then you can like really lean into the like, I'm a big personality and I'm going to talk and interact, which is, I think maybe a way that streamers might make more money, but it's going to be a lot harder for if you're an introvert guy. I'm a player. I'm just, and then all of a sudden, wow, I've got to be this loud mouth talking about donations every 10 minutes and trying to get money in. That must be tricky as well, how to know which one to be if you want donations.
I don't know. I have no freaking clue. Like, you need to be at the right place at the right time, I guess. I've seen my friend like trying to get into streaming, and he's been doing it for like years. And he's pretty good. Like he's good at games. He's a good personality, but like the follower count is not that high that it could be. Like there's like still like a few people in night, so that's like kind of sucky. Yeah, and it's a tricky thing, definitely. I mean, like, but I think like the personality thing is not that hard even for an introvert because you're just hanging out alone in your house.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So you could like put on an act.
And you're talking about your game. You're talking about the thing you really know and are really passionate, clearly very passionate about.
Yeah, but it's just like who happens to pick you up, I guess.
Yeah.
Browsing through Twitch, several games, just picking out random things.
Yeah, or
because it's so overcrowded right now.
Sure.
Especially now, but that's never going away. Yeah.
Like that's just a factor of the fame. Like what are we going to do? Okay, there's only a certain number of games. Yes, okay, maybe there's going to be more. That's growing, but the number of gamers is growing and there's just more. Like there's just more. Like it's overcrowded. There's just more people want to be involved, more. Do we have 2 Twitch services or something? Like, no, it's just, does maybe Twitch need to have the next evolution of their interface that allows us to see things better? Possibly. Maybe that's the next.
They're doing that.
They're doing that, yeah. Trying to get there. Yeah, because how to say? Yeah, it does seem like the streamers need that combination of being good at the game, having a personality that people want to listen to, and you being able to draw them in, and having that little bit of that just getting over that hump of being able to ask for money, which I think may also be, I'll go out on a limb here, particularly difficult for, let's say, Estonians. It's a little bit harder to ask for money all the time. And my experience with Estonians has been they're not as, let's say, Americans, as a contrast, right?
I don't know how Estonians have started the trend. I mean, like bigger Estonian streamers, I mean. But I mean, now I guess it's just this psychological aspect is there. You mean like you want to be noticed if you're a follower. I mean, that's why you're donating the money. The streamer sees you, he says like, hey, $5, thank you very much, man. And you go like, yay. It's like I'm there.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's an interactive element, yeah. I don't know if you ever had these concepts in Estonia that TV would run something called a telethon. Do you know what that is in Estonia? Where like they would like for like 24 hours or a whole weekend, and they were about like, we're going to raise money for the children's hospital, and they would have famous people, and you could call in and you'd be like, hi, I want to donate. Like back in the 80s, I want to donate $10, and it fucking Koitoma would answer the phone or something, or if you called in, you might talk to a famous person, and then they would have variety acts all weekend and this.
I know what it is. I don't think we have had those though.
It feels like streaming is that.
Yeah, it's in Estonia. The most we get is the number on the screen, and then afterwards they say it in media. And yeah, we collected that much money. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Because it does seem like you need that self-promotion ability, a little bit of that, kind of, to keep it going. We've had our experiences. We have a little dabble with this with Comedy Estonia. We just turned on the YouTube. We do YouTube because we stream on YouTube, only because we built a pretty big YouTube up. So we don't do Twitch just because we don't have an account on Twitch. And we just turned on whatever you can do, super chat, and you can donate money and stuff like that. And I think at first I had inadvertently turned it on and didn't tell the guys. I didn't know. And then all of a sudden, like, Sander's doing a stream and like $5 was coming along with $5. And they're like, how does the money fall from the sky? And then we went, oh, YouTube wants 30%. Okay, well, all right. But yeah, I've noticed that, okay, just what I'm trying to say, it's hard because asking for money is always hard. And with Comedy Estonia, we do our open mic shows where we ask for a donation bucket at the end. And so we do the free show, and at the end, we all stand around with a bucket and we say, thank you for coming, and people can leave a donation as they go. But even that took us a long time to get that culture in. Guys, stand there. Okay, stand there, smile, look at the people in the eye, say thank you very much. You do appreciate them. Yeah, we do. Then tell them you appreciate them. And, we all had to train each other to this because it feels awkward. Oh, did you want to give me some money? And then even we've noticed that we have to sort of learn a little bit again about how to ask for money online and how to do that the right way. It's quite a subtle skill, isn't it, to sort of elicit these donations from people.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I have no idea how to do that though.
Yeah.
That's why level 1 is poor.
Okay, you guys are gotta you gotta work more. We all gotta work more at asking for money.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been wondering for a while. So there are some, if you are watching a streamer and they have a link and you're like, hey, if you want to help me out, kick in $5, you kick in $5, it shows up on the screen. As you say, the streamer says, thank you. And there's some service that's doing that. And the other typical way that it may happen is, I know a lot with podcasts, is something like Patreon. That if you've got a podcast or an artist or a streamer or anyone, and you can subscribe to them and maybe get behind the scenes footage, extra stuff, or not. Or it could just be, help me out by giving me $1 a month, and even that's great. But even previously in Estonia, we always needed to have our own version of everything back in the day. I'm trying to think of a really good example of this. Maybe even the example of what Hoyanda did instead of a like Kickstarter for cultural projects. That we always like, why do we have Kickstarter? But no, we needed Hoyanda to focus on the local things. We always needed the local version. God, I wish I had I'm trying to think of a really good fucking example of this. I don't know. But anyway, now it seems like Patreon is the international standard for this sort of stuff. Or if you don't agree with me, that's also okay. The Patreon's the international. Like, do we need a Estonian Patreon, or does that serve no purpose because the people who are donating are pretty international enough or appreciate what a Patreon is to begin with?
No, I think we're good with Patreon. I don't know if Hoyanda is like their reach is that big. I mean, like there are people who have used it and used it well, but like in a general sense, I mean, like it's not the talk of the town, you know.
I get that. I also didn't understand them. I had one of the representatives from Hoyanda on here, and she was like, yo, we're just going for Estonian cultural projects. It's not a broader Kickstarter.
I'm sure thing. Like for Estonian cultural projects, it is easier if you have your own like,
then it
platform.
Made sense. Yeah,
but for Estonian podcasts and stuff like that, I don't think if that is needed.
Yeah.
It's such a tiny market. It's like pretty much wasting money developing that platform.
That's a very good point, because that's the question that I've been fumbling around with is like, do we need our own Patreon? Not that I necessarily want to set a public one up, but I'm like, if all of comedy, if that's where we're moving, it was lockdown and we're all thinking about how do we make donations and streams and monetize that. I was like, oh, do we need our own one? Maybe based off our web shop or built off that technology or something like that. And I still wasn't sure myself. Like, am I just reinventing the wheel for no fucking good reason? Or does this help? Yeah, I agree. Patreon, it's like, as it used to be, I feel it used to be like, if you don't have Estonian bank clicks, fuck off. No one's buying from you in Estonia. You got the Swedbank, the SEB, all that. But now it's common enough to use a credit card. Yeah. Yeah, I think that this donation thing is very powerful, and so I think that it hasn't quite been understood by the rest of the media yet. Mostly, I think because they can't make money off it.
Maybe
that when you donate to a person. Typically, you don't donate to a brand. Typically. You don't donate to a company typically. If you're watching a streamer, I'm donating to them. If I'm watching a podcaster, I'm donating to those two guys on the podcast. And I kind of have a feeling that the reason why the Estonian media, and I think that all of them, I think all the different media companies have got their own video on demand solution. They've all been approaching us saying, hey, you can sell tickets to your live stream. And I would say, and show me another example around the world of where people are selling tickets to the live streams. Can you show me literally any other example where that's happening? And then I don't get a reply because I'm a dick. Yeah, I think most people in the media think I'm a dick when I'm like, someone wrote to me, I forget which agency it was, and I kind of knew the person actually. So I thought I was just being honest because I knew the person. And they said, hey, our media agency is getting up this platform. Do you want to be part of our streaming platform? I'm like, because we have 500 current viewers right now watching Sander on Comedy Estonia YouTube. Is yours going to be better than that? And I got no reply from them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's an Estonian thing. Everybody needs to have their own version of something.
Yeah. Like taxis. Oh, no. We couldn't just have one taxi app, could we? No.
That would be a monopoly.
Oh, we can't have that. So instead we'll have whatever the opposite of a monopoly is.
Yeah.
5, 6.
Let's flood the market.
Yeah, 5, 6 versions. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, good, man. Hey, it's been good. It's been nice to hear your thoughts about games and entertainment and everything.
Definitely, yeah.
It's going good. So where do you go from here? I mean, you keep writing, you keep growing hopefully keep growing these things in the Estonian media.
Yeah,
Is that
definitely.
the goal for you?
That's the goal, yeah.
Okay.
That's the set goal.
Do you think there is going to be, what could make streaming or esports, let's go a little bit broader, or just gaming, what could make it really pop in the mainstream media? Do you think there's something that could happen? Or?
I don't know. At this time, I don't think there is a formula for success. It's just that we need to approach video games and esports just like they are normal things, not some weird out of this world experiences that are, I don't know, played by children or big man children, whatever the fuck it is. And people who play video games are not stuck in their mom's basement, which is still a belief some people hold on to.
Sure.
It's just we need to approach everything like normal things they are.
Yeah, because coming back to the example that you gave of Puppy, and he's quite media shy, let's say, now, and not so prone, like, and we were saying maybe we can understand that, maybe possibly, if he hasn't really been treated well by the media and they keep focusing on one or two things that is not the main thing for him, then he goes, well, why the fuck should I bother talking to you? But you know, if only we could represent these people, then they would want to open up more, and then we would see there's a real people. They're normal guys. It's not a weird hunchback sitting in the mom's basement. He's a regular guy playing games, got a dream, trying to grow, get somewhere, struggled at an undefined goal that, like all sportsmen or artists, need to do.
Yeah, the reporting doesn't have to be sensationalist. Write about GTA some other time when somebody doesn't get killed by it, so to say, like over it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's gonna take.
It's gonna take time.
Take time.
Yeah.
I mean, there is, I hate to say, it sounds a bit old school, but it's some sort of generational thing, probably.
Yeah. There's a good example. I started to write an article about that Delphi issue I mentioned in the beginning. And I think I'm gonna end it with an idea that I heard from Richard Bartle. He's an professor and video game researcher from United Kingdom and creator of Mod, one of the first, the first virtual
multi-user dungeon. Mod, like text,
yeah.
like the old text ones.
I mean, first virtual world, so to speak.
Sure, that's 80s shit. I mean, that's late 70s, 80s shit.
I did an interview with him in 2014, I guess. And I asked that when will people start accepting video games as a normal thing, and when will this prejudice go away? And he said that it stops when people my age die. And that's pretty much it. It's unfortunately the truth.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. They're all gonna die. It's a very stoic idea. We're all gonna die. But also, I think then that situation can also be taken advantage of. There is an advantage to being the underground. That it could be. There are possible ways to use it. I mean, that's. Like for Comedy Estonia, we're also not super fans of the media. Like, okay, we'll do the interview and go here and go there, but as you may have noticed, there's no Comedy Estonia TV show. You know, we're not doing longer comedy bits on the television. We just kind of found it wasn't our scene. The artistic ideas didn't match about what they wanted on their TV and what we wanted to do. So we said, okay, cool, we'll go back to our YouTube and stream directly to our fans. But that's your fans will grow up as well. Like, you don't have to wait for them to die. the other generation. Like we've been performing in Tartu for so long that in Maku at the open mic that we've now had university students go through university, graduate, get jobs, get a family, and now they've got money and they want to come and see us in a theater. And I'm convinced that's a big part of they've been seeing us since back in the day. And you don't have to wait for them to die. You've just got to wait. You don't have to wait for the other people to die. You've just got to wait for your current fans to grow up and get some money.
Yeah, that too, but you can't ignore the generation that comes after that. Like the problem with current media, so a bit is that, especially television, is that they cater to that one audience they have been with since the beginning.
Sure. Right, but then you ask the question, like, why the fuck do we care about the TV?
Pretty much, we don't.
We don't. That's right. Why do we don't care? And you're doing it. You're level one of doing it. You're building your own fans, doing your own streams, your own podcasts, your own broadcasting. Like, no, you don't get as far as the Õhtuleht, but you can do exactly what the fuck you want. And I don't know. I'm just not. Maybe that's the same thing, the same way that you describe that people, should we just wait for them to die? That's how I consider traditional media. Like, I'm just waiting for you to die. Yeah. So that's a positive note to end the podcast on, isn't it? Yeah. As Lewis pretty much burns his bridge with everyone in the Estonian media landscape. Excellent. Thanks.
Oh, that was nice.
But anyway, Sten, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you giving up your time. All right. Cheers, mate.